Well, thank you very much. Xin Yin Hao, Xin Yin Kuai Le. Very nice to join with all of you today for a nice dim sum celebration of the arrival of the Year of the Snake. I hope that everybody's year is off to an excellent start. It's a year of wisdom and prosperity. I hope that I know that you'll have the first. You have the first already, the wisdom, and I hope that you'll get the second. In fact, I hope our whole country will get the second, prosperity. Obviously, we're coming through a terrible 10 years in Canada, where crime raging out of control, housing costs doubled, food banks overflowing with people, the worst economy in the G7, and drugs everywhere in our streets, 49,000 people dying, a government that's completely lost control. But the good news is that in 2025, Canadians will have a chance to take back control of their lives, to axe taxes, build homes, stop crime, ban drugs, unleash our economy with free enterprise, free trade. And that's the beautiful, bright Canada First future that we share together. So, Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Thank you. What we need to do is be strong. We need strength. So far, we've had weakness from the Liberal government, weakness and chaos. We don't have a permanent prime minister right now. The Liberals are busy fighting with each other for power rather than fighting for Canada. And my message to President Trump is that I will put Canada first. We will respond dollar for dollar, tariff for tariff. We will build alliances with grassroots American business and unions who share our desire to trade, to pressure the administration to reverse any potential tariffs. We will reinforce our border. We'll bring in, I've said today, we need to send the military to the border to stop fentanyl. We need to send our troops, surveillance, helicopters, add 2,000 border guards that will go and interrupt the flow of fentanyl. And we need to make our economy more self-reliant so that we're not so hopelessly dependent on decisions of the United States president. Right now, we have a very weak economy. We've lost $500 billion of investment from Canada to the US. We cannot supply our own energy, even though we have the biggest supply right beneath our feet. We need to reverse the disastrous liberal taxes and anti-development policies that have made us so helpless. So I will pass a bring-it-home tax cut on work, investment, energy, home building, and making stuff in Canada. I'll open up free trade between our provinces so that Canadians can sell to each other rather than just to the Americans. I will rapidly approve LNG plants, pipelines, mines, factories, and other industry that Liberals have been blocking for 9 years. And this will allow us to become more self-reliant, earn bigger and more powerful paychecks so that we don't have to depend on the Americans exclusively for our economic well-being. That's what it means to put Canada first. Well, we haven't announced our numbers yet because our platform is still coming, but 17,000 public servants retire every single year. My view is we don't need to replace every single one of them. You know, we've got 50% more public servants than we did a decade ago, and we're getting worse service. On top of that, we've doubled the amount the government spends on outside consultants who are now doing the work the bureaucracy should do. That's a total of $21 billion we're spending on consultants. That's $1,400 for every Canadian family in taxes to fund federal government consultants. I will be slashing the consultants, and I will be reducing the federal bureaucracy through attrition by filling only a fraction of the job that become vacant as people retire. And that will allow us to save money. We need to cut bureaucracy, cut consultants, cut corporate welfare, and cut foreign aid so that we can bring down debt, taxes, and inflation. We also need to unleash growth. Think about it.
Yes.
The economists have calculated that we could increase federal revenues by about $15 billion if we had free trade between our provinces. Why? Because our economy would be bigger. If our businesses were able to sell more products to our own people, the government would collect more revenue from that. If we unleashed our energy sector is the most productive sector in the country of all. That's not an opinion. It's just the dollar value of every hour worked in the energy sector is the highest of any other sector. You allow resource development, you generate billions of dollars of revenue, not through higher taxes, but through higher GDP. So unleash productive GDP, cut wasteful bureaucracy, you can bring down taxes and deficits. Thank you. So let's start with the trade with the U.S. President Trump's tariffs, which I understand he's now paused for another month, are unjustified and unjustifiable. We need to stand strong for Canada. But we need to make Canada more independent. Right now, we sell 75% of our exports to America. We sell twice as much to the Americans as we sell to other provinces. It's incredible, eh? Our provinces sell twice as much to America as they sell to each other. We need to have more domestic trade, Canadian to Canadian. So I'm going to work with the provinces to knock down interprovincial trade barriers. I'm going to approve pipelines and LNG plants so that we can export our natural resources to Asia, to Europe, without going through the United States. We're going to fix our broken ports so that we can get our products out across the Atlantic and Pacific rather than, again, just giving the Americans our unrefined raw materials for them to profit. And we are going to pass a beautiful patriotic tax cut. It's going to be called the Bring It Home tax cut. And it will bring hundreds of billions of dollars back because this will become the best place in the world to do business. And that's how we're going to take back control of our lives in Canada. And as for China, we don't seek conflict with any country. We want our sovereignty to be respected. We condemn all foreign interference in our country. And we espouse human rights and freedom for everyone. It will be up to China to decide if it respects those objectives. Thank you. No, they don't agree. They say they still like the carbon tax, but they're going to pause it until after the election, when they're going to bring it back. And they both said they will bring in another carbon tax. They are just going to pause the existing one until after the election is over. Chrystia Freeland has said that she would use the Quebec-style carbon tax, which is very expensive, very complicated, and has no rebate. Mark Carney has said he will bring in a carbon tax on Canadian industry, and he is not going to have a rebate either. So the carbon tax Mark Carney, that's why they call him Carbon Tax Carney. It's right in his name. The one that he's going to bring in will be bigger than the one we had before, and it will not include any rebate. It will be devastating. You can look at my social media. I posted videos of him. He said, for example, he's going to apply it on steel mills. And he said that steel mills don't matter to Canadians because we don't use steel. You should hear it. You should actually hear it. It's a really, don't take my word for it. Go listen to him say it. He's doing this interview. And the gentleman said, well, you're going to put a carbon tax on a steel mill. Won't they pass it on to Canadians in higher prices? And he said, well, Canadians don't use steel. It's like, has he driven a car? Does he have any appliances in his house? Does he know what pipes are made of? This is going to be a disaster. Carbon tax Carney is not as bad as Justin Trudeau. He is worse, far worse. He's been Justin Trudeau's top economic advisor for 4 years. He supported the carbon tax. He called for an increase in the carbon tax, and now he's planning a carbon tax con job, which is to pause the tax just so we can get through the elections. People will say, oh, the gas price went down just 5 weeks before an election. Hooray! And then they go, and the goal is for him to win. And then he comes back in and he says, well, now that I'm in power again, the people can't stop him from bringing the tax in higher than ever before. When he no longer needs your money, when he no longer needs your vote, but still needs your money, carbon tax Carney will bring in the most crippling tax of all time. And we will make sure everybody knows that. If you want to axe the tax forever, for everyone, you have to vote for the common sense Conservatives. We have been the only party to oppose the carbon tax from the beginning to the end. We are the only ones that can be trusted. So the next election will be a referendum on the carbon tax, because we know that Carney and Freeland will bring it back, and we know that Conservatives will axe the tax. Thank you. Well, that's just liberal lies. Liberals have been lying to the community for a long time. They want to spread lies to frighten people into voting for them again, so that they can go on legalizing drugs in the community. Look at what Justin Trudeau has done to for the lives of people in Richmond. He's doubled housing costs, most expensive housing costs in the world, right in Vancouver and Vancouver area. They tried to push decriminalized fentanyl into your streets, into your schools. They've given tax dollars to hand out hydromorphone opioids. They push liberal drug consumption sites. When the Chinese community spoke up against them, liberal racists went and made racial slurs against Chinese people, which I condemned. Justin Trudeau refused to condemn it. And they brought in catch and release bail. So now you have these violent criminals terrorizing our communities and being released within days. They've raised your taxes. They've driven people to food banks because carbon tax has driven up food prices. So if you had that record, what would you do? You would spread lies about the other party. And that's exactly what they are doing. Common sense Conservatives believe in controlled, compassionate immigration. We believe that we should bring in lawful immigrants who follow the rules to get into the country, that we should control the population growth so that we never add people faster than we add houses. And we believe in ending the fraud in the international student and temporary foreign worker programs that have caused so much chaos for so many people. These are policies that are widely supported by the Chinese community. We were in government before. For 10 years I was in government. Did any of these things that the Liberals are talking about, did they happen? No. So we had a majority government in both the House of Commons and the Senate, and we never did any of the things that they're warning about. So these are just liberal lies trying to hold on to power. But the good news is Canadians of Chinese descent and of all backgrounds are too smart for liberal lies. Thank you.
Thank you.
We've lost 49,000 people to fentanyl overdoses under the Liberals. There's been a 200% increase in overdose deaths as a result of the radical drug liberalization that they have pushed. They signed on with the British Columbia NDP to decriminalize crack, heroin, cocaine, fentanyl. They've given out tax-funded hydromorphone. We're only inspecting 1% of the shipping containers that come into the country. The other 99% bring in drugs, guns, and other contraband to the country. We have a catch and release criminal justice system that allows serious fentanyl criminals to be released within days of their most recent arrest on bail. They can do their sentences by house arrest in their living room. And that is why our communities are dying from fentanyl. We conservatives will carry out the biggest crackdown on crime and drugs in Canadian history. We will get rid of catch and release and bring in mandatory prison time for everyone convicted of marketing, trafficking, and exporting fentanyl. We will put in place high-powered scanners that can look into shipping containers that are bringing in the fentanyl ingredients. We will hire 2,000 additional border agents. We will deploy the military. I called for the military to be deployed to our borders to stop the transit of drugs. We will lock up the drug criminals once and for all. We'll also put the money into treatment and recovery so that we can help people who are addicted get off the drugs and go back to their families drug-free. Yes, well, I'd like to thank Canadians of Chinese descent. Wish everyone a Happy New Year. Xin Yan Hao, Xin Yan Kuai Le. I hope that you and your families have had wonderful Lunar New Year celebrations. I look forward to building the historic friendship between the Chinese community and the Conservative Party based on our shared values of faith, family, and freedom. We're going to bring home Canada's promise, the promise that anyone from anywhere can do anything, that hard work earns a powerful paycheck and pension that buys affordable food, gas, and homes in safe neighborhoods where it doesn't matter if your name is Martin or Mohammed, Smith or Singh, Chang or Charles. As long as you're prepared to work hard, follow the law, you can have a great life with a beautiful family on a safe street in a country protected by strong borders under a proud flag that symbolizes the best of us all. Thank you very much. Happy New Year. Let's bring it home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.